All right. I think you guys should be able to hear me at this point. You should be looking at a Doge chart. If somebody could let me know if you guys can see the stream okay and if you can hear the stream okay. It says on my end that I have an excellent connection so far. All right. Thank you, Delta. What is up, Alan? Good to see you. What's up, Gert? How are you guys doing today? I hope everybody's having a good day. We have 3 likes so far. As always, it's really helpful if we can get the likes up to around 10 likes, just so more people see the stream. And it kind of helps us have something to kind of get it out there for everybody. Hello, Dr. T. What's up? Marco, Houston, all okay. That's funny. Loud and clear. Yeah, let's just bullshit around here for a minute. We have 7 people currently watching, so do hit the like button so we can get this up a little higher. We're currently only at 3. While we wait for that, I do think the important thing for people to realize here is where you are at in the road for your macro Bitcoin scenario. Oh, what's up, Happy? Smash it up. We're at 6 already, boys. We're almost at 10. There is no red candles, Happy. What are you talking about? I don't see any red candles. I don't see one red candle on my whole screen. You should be happy. Everything's okay. All right, so the big thing that a lot of people need to recognize here about what's going on with Bitcoin is the potential that, and we've talked about this in numerous other streams, but the potential for your structure to the upside to be over, as well as there to be a little bit more of this cycle left, right? So we've talked once before about how the potential 5 waves in the 5 of 5 could be in, right? But overall, I do believe there's more left to this cycle, and we'll talk about that more when we go back to our other chart. I don't think that the upside is going to be something where we break 200,000. I don't think it's going to be something where this runs off into the sunsets and we have this blow off macro top that goes on and on forever, okay? I think what more so you're looking at here, let's line these up, is some sort of 1-2 stacking from down low, okay? So we haven't seen this yet. Let's just delete everything to make this easier. We'll use this chart while we talk about it, okay? So if off the lows, you're looking for structures in some sort of count, right? So in my opinion, what if this was 5 waves and then a pullback in 2, 5 waves, pull back in 2, 5 waves, pull back in 2, and you're finally working on what would be those waves 3, 4s, and 5s. You hear a nice truck exhaust? Yeah, sorry. There's a lot of rednecks around here. So if we do this again, another 1 into 2, we could potentially be working on, would be 3, 4 stacking. So we'll change these colors just so you can see it a little bit easier. And again, we would have another 1, 2 out of these lows, right? So nice and easy. This should be very easy for you to see at this point. There shouldn't be a whole lot that's really confusing about this, okay? We'll change this color to make it a little bit easier to see again. So if off the lows you have triple 1, 2 stacking, and you're going into 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, that means you're looking for that triple 3, 4 stacking at the highs before the final 5th wave is given, right? So if every time we're looking for a would-be 5th wave target, right? If we went from 0 to the would-be 3 to wherever the 4 decides to stop, which nobody knows yet, right? Everybody's only speculating. Then you begin to talk about, the 382 and the 618 as your next targets. But when we are using extensions on linear, I think it's really important for you to understand that when they are on log, it's important to understand those targets might be a little more lavish than what you expected. So using your extensions on linear when predicting that next move might actually be more accurate, okay? So no one knows where this is going to stop yet, and we'll speculate on that once we go into lower time frames. But I do still think you're looking for that wave 5 that comes up, takes this, makes a new all-time high, tinkers with that 140 to 169 because of the 3-4 stacking. And then basically the cycle's over, right? So the thing here is, wow, 11 people, dude. Thank you all for coming today. So if we're looking to get one more high here, this could really prove to be an important thing for altcoins, right? So if Bitcoin gives that price action to the upside, anytime that we can get, and this is your recipe for altcoins, right? For alt season. The recipe for alt season is you want Bitcoin's price to move up while Bitcoin's dominance goes down, right? If that is happening while BTC goes down, sorry, a little wonky here with our writing, BTC.D. So if Bitcoin's price goes up while Bitcoin dominance goes down, those altcoins will get that macro giant push, right? And that's how you could start to see some really good reversals on a lot of these altcoins. But that's going to take you paying attention to a couple things at once. One is going to be the Bitcoin price, obviously, which everybody likes watching. And two is going to be the potential to see what goes on with the Bitcoin dominance here. Sorry, I was reading the chat while I was trying to do this. So if you potentially face a reversal here on the Bitcoin dominance and this cruises up, that would destroy altcoins, right? So you really don't want that. What we would like to see, and I truly don't think that the Bitcoin dominance plays along too well with Elliott wave, but it does seem to like fibs and channels. So what you would be hoping for nonetheless is that whatever this leg was to the downside here on the Bitcoin dominance, right? If this was 5 waves to the downside, it still even looks poised for a retracement, right? So if by chance this is what's going on, is we're looking at a possible move to the downside and we're looking for a retracement, that takes Bitcoin dominance all the way back up here in these mid 60 range, right? That would really hurt a lot of altcoins if Bitcoin's price was going down. But if you have Bitcoin's price going up while the dominance goes up, alts might not do anything at that moment, or might even see kind of like a standstill. You know what I mean? So being aware of the Bitcoin dominance cycle will save you a lot. So, all right, let's talk about our lower time frame possible counts here. Right, so if this was 5 waves up in the top of that larger degree wave 3 that we had talked earlier in the stream, and now we're looking for a would-be wave 4, right? Now, what's up, Brian? What's up, Nameless Monster? Man, everybody's coming up in here today. We got so many. We're at 9 likes. Hello. What's up, everybody? All right, let's go look at what we have from the top down so far. So from the top down, there's 2 different ways that I would like to count this, and we can go back and forth here. But one is a not probably the strongest scenario, but that is the low is in this Y, right? Meaning this was W and X and 3 waves to finish Y and an ABC. It was a sharp double zigzag, right? Now, if that is true, we would look for would be, hourly reversals out of here. Due to our larger macro degree counts and the possibility that this was all to make up a wave 4 again, I don't think that this would be the low in that 3-4 stacking. I think this would be the low of what would only be the A wave, right? So if we had a WXY and A, we get a B wave up. Let's say it does not break our X wave high around 117.45. Then we could look for that other C leg to the downside, right? But a large part of me thinks, this is just the beginning of what could be the larger 3-4 stacking. I don't know why I typed 3-4 stacking in. The larger 3-4 stacking that we talked about when we were zoomed out, making this only part of that local wave 4, right? So let's get rid of all this. You can always put your drawings back on another time. They don't have to be there forever. So let's go from the lows of that guy's 2 to the highs of its 5. A minimum 0.236 retracement for this, meaning as a wave 4 it likes a 0.236 retracement, would be around $99,697. That's another reason why I partially want to side with This is only the A wave down. And whether we get a high B or not, I don't know. And then we finally get a C wave down, right? I think then you will have that same degrees wave 4 in. And we'll label this again so you can see it clearly. This would be wave 1 into wave 2, wave 3 into wave 4, and then you would get a successive wave 5. Now, let's live action role play here, nerd out for a second. If you could imagine, I'll go back and fix that click. If this was 3 and 4, let's go fix our first click so it makes it a tad more accurate. That means your wave 5 could be looking to go from 382 all the way up to the 0.618 at $167,000. Right? So if this is true, everything will still be okay, right? Because you still have a retracement before this next leg of pain, right? And all it's really doing is delaying the cycle. So if that's all, and you're waiting for 5 waves of 5 to the upside, that 5th wave can be made in 2 different ways. One is a standard impulse in 5 waves, right? The second way it can be made, and we'll draw it really quickly, is some sort of 3-wave fashion, and a 3-wave down, and a 3-wave up, and a 3-wave down, and a 3-wave up, right? If you got some sort of wedging in, tightening, constricting, contracting diagonal, then I would be expecting us to see that top out around 140. But if we're getting this nice, good displacing 5 waves towards the upside for the wave 5 of the 5 for the cycle, like I think it will, you know, we could be looking into a whole lot more here, right? We could be looking at this going for a lot longer, helping those altcoins to the upside. But again, it's going to come from how we see this correction go about. So just keep paying attention. Let's keep watching for divergences. I think those are going to be key. And from there, we'll know more as time progresses. But for right now, I think the best thing we can do is just stay super patient with the current correction to see what's going on. But I do think this current correction, due to the overlapping and due to the current price action, really makes me side with the WXY due to the way that the current X is made its retracement. There is a chance that this should have been a sharp double zigzag, and that's why we talked about maybe putting a low here. But there is always the potential for that one more low, like we've talked about in our recent live streams and in the Discord community, right? So be aware of that. That comes down all the way around to, I think it was 104,000, which was near an internal fair value gap on the larger time frames. Yeah, this one's all closed up almost on the weekly. Let's go to a daily. There you can see a little dude right here. We have a tiny fair value gap left behind here. You know, that's something that could very well get filled. If we get one more push down from here to that fair value gap and then get the bounce, that's totally acceptable too. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So far on lower time frames, Bitcoin has given no confirmation of a reversal yet. And by that I mean, you know, if we're on an hourly and we're being realistic with ourselves, nothing here makes you feel like, yeah, that's definitely a 5-wave off the lows. We're definitely making reversals. Here we go, right? So because of how this looks, for now, you can't call this a reversal, right? We don't have this. Until we get that, and until you see something come down and defend itself with a retracement of 3 waves, we cannot call a reversal at all yet, right? So until then, this could just be the beginning of something. But until we see it, we don't believe it, all right? All right, so everybody, do you have any questions over Bitcoin or anything that's going on with it currently? Just go ahead and ask in the chat. If you do, let me know and I'll get your questions answered. Feel free to ask any questions you have about Bitcoin. If you don't, then we will move into Ethereum And while I'm doing Ethereum, if you guys could please put in any altcoins that you would like to cover, just pop them in the chat one at a time. Supply as much detail as possible that you can. That way I can give you back the best analysis, right? So things that help me are letting me know, do you already own this coin? Are you looking to buy some? Are you looking to do that in spot? Are you looking to do that in leverage? Right? Are you a weekly holder, long term? Are you looking to just make a scalp? These kind of things help me help you. So please put that in the chat as much as you can, and we'll go from there. All right, 1 second. One second. Sorry, my daughter's ready for nap time and she is putting on a fit out there. I'm pretty sure you guys can hear it on the microphone. Delta asks, if Bitcoin does make the ABC to lower prices, then alts can get hammered on. Like we discussed earlier, that you won't know until you watch Bitcoin dominance. So you'll need to be watching Bitcoin dominance to know what is going on. Like Happy just pointed out, you won't have a fucking clue what's going on until you watch what's going on with your dominance. So, all right, let's talk about Ethereum. All right, so there's two ways to look at Ethereum. One is through the lens of it might be fucked, right? That's the bears. The bears want you to see this. So the bears and bulls route, the bearish route would be that the possibility of this being just an ABC towards the upside. And the reason we have to put this as an ABC is because it hasn't broken the 1 through 1.382. Now, this is on log. This is what I would typically chart everything on under a 3-day, right? Now, if by chance, like I talked about with Delta in our one-on-one earlier and we covered this in another stream, if you're on linear, you'll note that the possible move to the upside made a strong move which hits 1.618 and has the potential for a 5-wave motion within it, making it possible that this is still a wave 3, right? So for my Ethereum holdings, I'm going to stick to linear on this chart. And I'm going to say this could potentially be the high of a 3. And it's making a 4 now before it makes a final 5th, right? So I would still say that I'm bullish on this. When we place our wave 4 retracements from the low of 2 to the high of a possible 3, we can see we're getting some good interactions here at the 0.236. But I wouldn't be amazed to see another leg down to the 0.382 or even 0.5 in the worst case, right? This wave 2 was very 3-wave, very quick and fast, and it was over, and it did not make a deep retracement. So I wouldn't be surprised if we had a bigger, longer, deeper wave 4 that could even come down to 38 to 3,500 on Ethereum, and that would still be a really bullish situation, right? So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. All right, so that's Ethereum. Let's go see what you guys have as your other altcoins that you want to talk. So far from the top down, the first one I'm seeing looks like FARTBOY. Let me write that down. And the next one, this is from Marco, his ICP. Blah, blah, blah. A lot of chatter. Kids are the best. Yeah, they are. They're just crazy as shit, man. She gets so mad around nap time, just starts losing her mind. It's no reasoning with a tired baby. All right. Then Gert asked if we can look at BEAMX on the weekly time frame. Possible C leg to the upside. Bought on the bullish, divergence on the weekly. All right. So let's go look at BEAMX also. And that's on a weekly. And if you have an exchange that you like that best from, let me know. And we'll go from there. And then after that, I have ONDO, spot. That's for 6. And then I have Troll, whatever time frame, 4 hour a day. I close majority on spot. Is that Troll on the deck screener, Marco? And if so, could you possibly give me a contract address? Alan, you got it. FARTBOY is actually the next thing we're going to be covering. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right. So in the Discord community, I've been keeping FARTBOY very updated, and we've been covering it very well. What I will want to talk about today on FARTBOY is the larger move and what we could potentially be seeing going on the smaller time frames, right? So because this is an A, B, C, three-wave motion, it is highly likely that anything to the upside is not impulsive. So this is likely an A, this was likely a B, and you're likely looking for a C leg. Now, does that mean that this can't make some larger reversal because it starts with three waves? No, it doesn't, right? That's how diagonals get going. That's how things get chained together to make bigger corrections towards the upside also. So if this starts with three waves and we make a pullback, we would be looking for 5 waves in a wave C, right? So if we just stay zoomed out on FARTBOY and we talk about the potential resistances moving up from a low to a high to a low, we talk about the 1 through 1.382 extensions here, and let's make sure we're back on linear or logarithmic. Eventually I'll get this as close as we can. I don't want it to be off. There we go. Let's go back to logarithmic. Oh, AERO. Yeah, let me write that down. We'll get AERO in there too. Fuck it. Fuck it. All right, so when you are on logarithmic, you'll see that that 1 through 1.382 here can get pretty lavish for FARTBOY, right? It can go through the 1 through 1.382, which takes this from 0.04596 all the way up to 0.06591. Now, a C leg can also get very extended and even push up to 0.08235. If FARTBOY is able to do that, happy days, right? So now let's go zoom in on our lower time frames and talk about what we might have going on there, just in case we don't get a C wave, right? So this starts with 3, so it doesn't mean it has to end with 5. It doesn't mean it has to end with a C wave, right? Do I got any FARTBOY people in the house right now? Or am I talking to myself? Is there anybody here that likes FARTBOY, or is it just me? Let me know. So when we size up this current correction to the upside, when we were looking at this on Twitter, we also identified the potential for a 5-wave motion to the upside here, right? We nailed the wave 4 support. We nailed the wave 5 resistance, right? So, oh yeah, I got a couple FARTBOYers in here. So we knew, hey, if we got a 5-wave move of this magnitude, meaning it reached 103% gain, good job, Dr. T. Fucking cranked that one out of the park, man. And that's right. You nailed it, dude. Way to go. Nobody else was nailing that. Nobody was calling the expanded B wave here, right? We fucking nailed this in the community. So, if that's true, you're looking for a sharp C wave to the downside. I'm afraid of telling my wife I put our money into FARTBOY, so I'll never be rich. I would be scared to tell my wife I bought something called FARTBOY too. So the most common thing that we should be looking for here is that successive low to take the lows of the would-be A or W, right? It's just that the most common thing here is going to be take the lows of A, which makes me have to lean into, hey, you know, I'm not looking for support to come in until around 0.2662, potentially even down to 0.2409 at 1.618 to try to see if the bulls can defend the lows of the prior degree wave 4. Also, because this is an expanded flat, meaning the B wave or X wave takes the highs of the previous 5-wave motion, we can see a very expanded leg down in a C leg, which could hit the 1.618. So it's something to be open to. That would also get you very close to your golden pocket fibs, as you can see. So if that's true on FARTBOY, and that's what we get, right? Now we can start planning for our moves towards the upside if support holds. So in a 5-wave motion, let's say you go to 1.618, it's the worst it can be. Holy shit, it's painful. Right? Well, that's good. The deeper this goes, the more realistic this will be to the upside. If this holds shallow, it pushes this up even higher, which kind of messes a little bit with our higher time frame counts. So I do side with the deeper correction here, possibly down to the lows of prior degree wave 4, and then see something move off of there, right? I don't think you'll get a great impulse with great displacement. I think you'll have something like this in the end that will look like a 5-wave motion, and it will get everybody excited. Marco, you're funny as shit. But they shouldn't be as excited as you want to be, right? Because why? Because you have a previous move that only started with a 3-wave motion. The other thing that you could always see here is 5 waves up. Let me get rid of this squiggly on the screen. If that prior 3 was a W instead of an A, that would mean we're going to end in a Y or another 3-wave motion, which would mean you would have 5 waves up, 3 waves down, 5 waves up, right? If you get that, that still ends the correction as 3 up in W, 3 down in X, and 3 up in Y, right? And because the X wave retraced so high and so deep, so much of the W, and was past to 702, this could very well happen, right? This was a flat correction in W, ABC. That means this could be a zigzag in Y, which would give alternation. I hope that makes sense. What I'm saying here is that if by chance you have 3 in W and 3 in X, and then you give a 3-wave motion in Y, that's still great. The bulls are still going to get a leg to the upside. In both situations, the bulls for FARTBOY still get that correction to the upside, right? It just changes a little bit. So both ways, guys, but let's be looking at that. Is there anybody who has any other questions over FARTBOY at all? Nice, dude. We got 17 people up in here, dude. Smash up the like button, guys. Help us out. You know, get this out there to other people. Let other people see the stream. And put in your altcoins in the chat, guys. Let's go ahead and let's cover them. So that was FARTBOY. So far, I've got no questions over it, so I'll keep rolling. We can revisit the questions if we go. If I miss any of your stuff that you put in, any chart requests or anything, please let me know in the chat and I'll go back and double check. All right, so let's go talk about ICP. This seems to be one everybody wants to talk about lately, and I don't know why. So I do understand when I look at ICP on the weekly, why people are excited about it, right? Let me zoom out here. So on a weekly, I think the main reason why people are excited here. Oh, I got Addy asking about Chainlink. All right, let's make sure we do that. All right, so when we look at macro things, right, the macro things that we should be concerned about here is just the classical analysis, which is going to be a support retracement, resistances taken from a high to a low, and seeing how we're interacting on our way up, right? So I personally don't want to side with this is a flat, right? So what starts with 5 ends with 5. That's the only reason. But something is cooking from my perspective. Nice. Well, hopefully you let me know what you think after this. So I don't want to say that this was an expanded ABC here. But I know that this is a potential, right? So that's something that people should be considering, is that was just a corrective motion to the upside in an ABC, right? Because 5 waves is either the start of something or the end of something, right? So if that's an expanded flat that made it to the 2.236, that's something very plausible. Now, ICP has been in a forever downtrend. So you're kind of just taking big chances here with this one, in my opinion, until we get a valid reversal. Now, the other way that you could talk about this on the macro would be that those same 5 waves here was the start of something, and that this is its correction, right? Whatever this is doing right now, I would let this do its thing. I would not try to buy this. I think that it would be idiocy. I think you'd be making really poor choices to just blindly buy into this one, because it can continue to just drop on you. So let's look at these corrective extensions here. We can see that we're getting good reactions here at the 1 line, but just like if this chart was inverted and that was a sheet of ice, right? If I was looking at this, I would want to be very open to that on this next touch to resistance. It could very easily break through, right? So because of the liquidity left behind in the internal fair value gap made by the 3 candles, and then tried to be cleaned up a little bit, and that being in line with the 1.236, I do think there is a chance that ICP makes one more low. That's from me being zoomed out like this, right? Now, if I zoom in a little bit, nice, we got 14 likes, dude. Pump it. Oh, Marco said, it was shared in the Discord. My opinions, DJM have similar. Only think it will have some kind of fake out. Yeah, I think best case scenario, right, was that bullish leg, sir, that we just looked at was an A, right? But I really want you to also be open to that that's not an A and that that's a C, right? If you start to lose this zone here, that makes that a little harder to believe. But I do think it's going to go, you know, hit that 321 first. But let's zoom in here on the micro so that we could talk about something also. Another thing I really think that you should do is put your base channel on this correction also. And if you really start to lose this base channel, look how beautiful that hit was, my dude. From high to low, your next hit on the base channel was right to the edge. And then we reversed, okay? I can't find a way on lower time frames to make this a reversal or a micro reversal, but let's go in there and check really quickly. So if you're wanting to be a bull, you would have to have something that's a count that starts off an actual low, okay? And by that I mean this is the current low, right? So the issue here is trying to say that this is some sort of start of something is going to be rather difficult, right? It's more likely that this is a corrective motion and that this is going to make a corrective motion and that you maybe get another partner leg to this guy, even possibly before putting in another low, right? So this is not something with high probability because of the range that it's in. So what I would do is put an idiot box on this thing, squish it back together a little bit. And I would go from these highs of the flats straight across with my box and straight down, right, to the next low closures that were made here. And then I would just watch and see how it's taking liquidity, right? So you can see this is your external liquidity for the range. This is the actual highs. And this is your external liquidity range on the lows. So it's going to pick a side to go to first. And then it's going to finish that bullshit move. And then we can start talking about resuming a trend. But until ICP leaves this box, potentially coming down to that 320 range, I would just let this one go. That's my opinion. Do you have any questions over that, sir? I'll wait for a second. I'll get me a sip of coffee while we wait. Yeah, I wouldn't be part of this, man. There's no way. All right, let's go look for BEAMX on the weekly. Guessing we're going to use this chart here on Binance, maybe? Yep, just be waiting for those low time frame reversals, Marco. That's the only way you can do it. So with BEAMX, it's kind of around the same thing, right? This chart, number one, has limited data, right? So that's the biggest takeaway from this chart, is that it has limited data. Likely this is an ABC to the downside, in my opinion, and we don't know what it'll do up, right? Dude, I'm running the latte right now. Bye, jalapeno. It's a spicy jalapeno. So I think, you know, if BEAMX is to give you some sort of reversal, it's really going to depend what this first leg does so that we can play off of that for what's coming next. So if it's an ABC down, what does that mean then? That means you have a local invalidation point, right? So let's delete everything. That means if that's an ABC down, which we don't know yet, we're just very hopeful, eager little buyers. That means you have an invalidation point, right? Beatrice, come here. Come on. Come on. Get in here. Beatrice wanted to come into the office party. She heard you guys charting, so you'll have to deal with her snoring. Hi, pretty girl. Hi, pretty girl. All right, so what I would do is let this go, right? Like, this is super choppy, dude. This is not what I would try to call an impulse, you know? It's definitely not the most beautiful thing, even when we go into the 4 hour. The reason I say this is because you lack a displacement, right? So when you don't have displacement, that means that standard impulse look. By that I mean typically you'll get a wave 1 and a wave 2 and then a big wave 3 and then a wave 4 and a 5. See how we have a good displacement between a 4 and the top of the 1? This doesn't have that. This is dog shit, right? So in my opinion, not really concerned about this chart yet, right? On the 4 hour, it's not giving me anything that says, you know, I need to get involved. On the 4 hour, it's saying just keep waiting, just keep waiting, just keep waiting. On the daily, it's saying just keep waiting, just keep waiting, right? Nothing about this chart yet has given you a true reversal yet. So again, BEAMX is not something with a high probability play linked behind it. So it would be one that I would have to let go just to watch for a little bit longer. Let's go check ONDO for 6. How's the stream on you guys then? Everything still going okay? Sometimes we get some lags in here and they mess up the stream. All right. So we've talked about this chart numerous times. I don't care how you guys want to do this, and this is up to you. Let's delete everything. Now, you can argue this two ways. One is that this is a correction upward, and two is that that's the high of something. I like it better as the corrective 3-wave motion upward, and that this is just a correction, right? Though it's rare, because what? It would be a running flat, right? It is possible. It is something that I want to be open to. The reason why is because this initial move to the upside was amazing, right? It was a 644% move. So on logarithmic, technically ONDO is looking for a 644% partner leg at some point, right? So let's add some extensions to this. And now we can start to see some respect to these. What I don't like is the closures under, making it probable and possible to come down one more time. But we will see. I would rather side with this being 3 down and 3 up and 5 down, and then the correction's over here. What I don't like about that being a C leg or an ending diagonal would be that your wave 4 is necessarily larger than your wave 2. Right, so that makes it an expanding, contracting diagonal, which is rare, or expanding, ending diagonal, right, which is rare. It should be a contracting ending diagonal. The other thing about an ending diagonal is that it should be in all 3-wave motions, right? So we can go prove or disprove this really quickly. So you would want every move within it to be very, 3 waves down and 3 waves up and 3 waves down. And you would have to lie to yourself and call that 3 waves up and 3 waves down, right? To be an ending diagonal, it needs to be all 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Now the only spot where ONDO starts to get me excited would be, okay, let's call that a low. Let's bring out invalidation, and let's find a way to start talking about it from here on the daily. Yes? Because we have a good low to go off of. We have a good recovery here. If we were to use our extensions, do we get impulsive? Yes. Most corrections aren't going to break a 1.382. Right? Most corrections are going to stop there. So if it were to have got impulsive, happy days. Maybe it just had a pathetic ass wave forward. That can happen, right? So if by chance this is, a 5-wave motion to the upside and a 3-wave pullback, and again, another wave 1 into 2, you could be talking about how this could have been stacking potentially wave 3s into 4s, and wave 3s into 4s, and maybe an ending in the 5th. Or even you could maybe lie and say an extended 5th, and this was 3, 4, 3, 4, 5. But those 3 4s don't reach the 1.618. So that's why I want to side with going up here. Right? So if you want to try to be a bull on ONDO, you would have to say that this is a wave 1 into a wave 2. And that this all needs to be a wave 3, 4, and 5. Right? And now you'd be telling yourself, great. Now I'm looking for a correction to the downside, right? What's up, TP hand? I'll write down your chart request real quick. So if this is 3 waves to the downside, which is what it looks like to me. Let me text my kids and see if they can turn off the frozen singing while the baby's trying to sleep. Our other daughter's cranking the Frozen like theme song tracks, like all the singing while our baby's trying to sleep. And I can only imagine the baby's just like on the edge thinking about all the Frozen songs instead of actually sleeping. I don't like this because the lower time frames, once we get into this nest of hideousness, isn't really coming together yet. But I would say, as bad as this might sound locally, if you're wanting that to be some sort of hideous 5-wave to the upside and this to be its correction, it hasn't hit the most typical corrective area yet, which is 1 through 1.382, right? So I do think it would locally still have a little bit more downside here on ONDO, and maybe that could align with, Bitcoin if it did give another low. But for now, I have to kind of stay biased on this. The other thing that I'm open to, because this 3-wave motion here makes such a deep cut fast and hard, is what if that's a W, right? And what if this is an X, and now you're making the Y leg, and the Y leg just doesn't come as deep, right? It stops and doesn't even have to make a new low. That's something to be open to. But again, you won't know. Let's look into an hourly, friend. So if you and I are going to watch this today, which now I'm going to because of this potential, we're looking for what? We're looking for valid reversals off the lows. So you're looking for what here on the hourly? 15-minute, excuse me, sir. What do we need this next successive leg up to do? You need it to break 1 through 1.382, and you need it to validate an impulse. As soon as this can go to 1.618, this next leg, then we know, hey, happy days, dude. I made a valid reversal. I've got a wave 1, a wave 2. I made a wave 3. I'm waiting for a 4. Likely the 4 will be shallow and sideways, and then you'll look for a wave 5, right? So if I can get a 5-wave 15-minute reversal that makes it up to that 2.236 per average, that move alone is a 12% gain. right? That's amazing, right? That's me going for a 12% gain on spot. I'm all about any spot gain over 10%. So if I can get a spot gain over 10%, it's worth the risk. So I would definitely add ONDO to your watch list because like we talked about on the larger time frames, ONDO has the potential for a 6x move, right? On the weekly, on the macro like we talked about. All right. Does anybody have any questions over ONDO? 6, if you have anything, just let me know. Let me see if anybody's got anything. I'll go check the chat. And then I will go look for this troll chart, wherever the hell I'm supposed to find this. Let me know. Let me see who asked for troll. Who asked for troll? Where's my troller? Where are you? Trying to figure out who asked for troll. Because I don't want to waste too much of our time looking at something if this is not it. I cannot see who asked for it now. You guys have been chatting so much, I lost the space. Oh well. Until I hear back from you, this is the troll that we will look at. And then TP hand, I'll write down for you WLFI. Never heard of that. Is that World Liberty Financial something? Is that Donald Trump shit? Donald Trump, motherfucker. All right, so if this is to start something off the lows to the highs, this would be likely a wave 3, right? So due to this 3-wave motion, I would not want to say that's anything but part of this correction, right? And I would want to start my count here as a 1 and a 2, and at maybe 3, 4, and 5 within wave 3, right? So the problem with troll is that it did have a good run, but that it could have a little bit of a retracement here, right? So if that's true, you're looking for a wave 4 that doesn't lose the 0.5, doesn't yield overlap into the top of a wave 1, right? This is hard invalidation, but I'll also give you invalidation shift point per the fibs. So invalidation shift point per the fibs will happen sooner. If you lose this 0.5 taken from the lows of 2 to the highs of 3, you know she's cooked. Now what you might see to give you a variation between your, or the rule of alternation between your wave 2 and 4 having different structures, what you might run into here is that this is an A, you get a B, and then eventually you get a C wave down, right? So then your wave 4 is in a sharp, scary zigzag, whereas your wave 2 was a chip, choppy pain in the ass, right? So that's something that you might want to consider. The other thing I would like to do here for troll is put a base channel on this move from the low to the high and talk about how early on you knew this was impulsive, right? So when you placed it from low to high, after that you have amazing center line reactions, and then the angle of the dangle breaks out and goes straight out of the channel. When that happens, you knew it was a wave 3. When it breaks 1.618 like cheesecloth, you knew it was a wave 3. So I'm going to side with this. I'm going to say you have a local wave 4 coming. Let's pay attention on the 4-hour and hourly coming up here on troll to see how it's reversing. Just in case you missed the lows, and let's say it's already done, right? Let's say this was 3 and that's 4 instead. That's something I'm also open to, but for now I want to stay open to the macro possibility of a 4 still not being done and waiting for wave 5. We also can look at the time from a high of 2 to the low of 2 for the total time of that correction. And we would like to typically see our wave 4 come in around a 1 to 1. So if that's going to happen for this here 4 wave, that's something we're looking out until about Friday, February the 19th. Or holy mother of pearl, I'm living in the future. It's looking out until Tuesday, the 14th of October. So this is something you could see correct for quite a bit longer if so. But let's also be watching the lower time frames to see what's going on. So if Troll were to do that, my dude, you would be looking at a wave 5 target that would take Troll up to around, look at that, drawn by hand. Complete perfect guess. Not 0.64 cents, right? So really, 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 really big gain from here. But first, let's wait and see how the rest of the correction comes in, because I think that's going to be imperative. All right. Hot and spicy. That is it. What did you read? You read the last chat? Oh, I thought you meant last chapter. I was like, damn, dude, you read the Elliott Wave book. Solid. All right. I'm not ignoring you. I'm trying to read the chats and do this. All right. So I got Troll done. If you have any questions over Troll, Marco, let me know. For now, I do think that's about what I would be looking for, though. This will be in the report if you need to find it later. All right, let's go look at AERO. Hey, AERO. So my final buy zone on this was 108 to 106. And we kind of went into that, and we're trying to start reversing, but it hasn't quite done it yet. Now, this isn't the most beautiful structure to the downside. A large part of me is wanting to say, I just want to count it as a 3-wave motion down like that for now, and say that this was the local top somehow, and this was all the way 4. It doesn't really matter, guys, when you get in the weeds. Really, all that matters is hard invalidation for this structure, right? Hard invalidation for this structure comes in around $1. That was the last high of that local wave 1 stacking and the 1-2 stacking that we talked about, right? So let's say, as a bull, you're buying this zone, right? You're in the Discord, you knew to buy, you weren't nervous, you knew where invalidation was, you understood risk to reward ratios, because that's the most critical thing here, right? So if one was buying that 108 like we talked about, you're looking to take the highs. Your invalidation is at the highs of the wave 1. We want no overlap, so you can keep your stop loss close. That's a 6.8% stop loss for a spot position, right? Now we're going to go ahead and try to predict for our local wave 5 within this leg. And keep in mind, please do, this is only within this leg. Now this may come down to fill out the 106 buy that I want to get around 106.4 also, but we'll see. So for now, I'm going to put my shit like this. Sorry that I cuss. I try not to on stream. That's a 71% gain for you, right? So anyone who's picking up these areas, these are good areas, right? The other thing that you should be noticing is what on your RSI between this possible low and our current possible low on a 4-hour. Right? Anybody? Bueller. You have hidden bowl divergence, right? So with hidden bowl divergence and what? Regular bowl divergence, sir. So this is the recipe for a nice reversal. You have it in your area of interest. This basically is like a fucking roadmap, yes? So you have invalidation. You have a technical target to look for your TPs at. The other thing is, what do we also have? We have larger degree counts leaning us towards a reversal, right? We've talked about this a million times, so I'm not going to go over it again. But this is triple 1-2 stacking. If all you did was focus on your macro goals of that wave 1 into that wave 2, boy golly, it sure would get crazy, wouldn't it? So overall, you'd be looking for near a $5 AERO. Okay? So our next goal would be around 264. That's only for the internal wave 3. That's if this doesn't get extended. This could easily get very extended. Even from out of those wave 4 purchase points here that we're looking at, if you were to ride them towards the wave 5, that's still 350% still on the table. That's an amazing gain on AERO. You know what I mean? Nice, dude. Fucking lever it up. Let's ride. Let's go balls deep. what we would like to see here on AERO would be an actual reversal. So this is something that we were charting earlier on, was the potential for this to come down and touch the 0.618, which was where my buy was at. And that's where I bought, 108. Yes? And I do this because now I can mitigate risk and play this to the upside, right? So I know this is super low time frame shit. But this is where the big dogs play. Let's go to Maxi and see if they have less gaps. Nope. I think Blowfin has the least amount of gaps. Where the fuck are you? Here she is. All right. Least amount of gaps around is these dudes. So what we're going to do now is we're going to be looking for a 1 minute reversal. And this could take time, right? This is degen shit. Until it solidifies itself, there's nothing we can do. This is a nice 3-wave move. So let's wait and see what this does. But I do think that AERO is in the area to start to look for reversals. So do with that what you will. I also like this kind of grinding at the beginning of a structure, displacement, and grinding at the end of a structure. Kind of gives us that little bit of an Elliott wave look, you know? So you can kind of see what I mean by that is how it kind of wedges in, and then how we're wedging in again with displacement in the middle and no overlap between those points, right? So it's it has all the things. And the reason we knew to sell out earlier was because we saw a 3-wave motion to the upside that never broke corrective extensions. So it allowed me to de-risk my other purchases that I had made on AERO that could have been in risk by this coming down deeper. So let's go check the chat. You're damn right, Marco. We got hidden and regular, dude. All right, so that's everything for AERO. Let's look at Chainlink really quickly. Let me know if you have any questions over AERO. Chainlink and AERO are my two biggest holdings, so I might be kind of biased on them. All right, so when we look at this, there's a couple different ways that I've seen people count this, and we've talked about our weekly goals a lot, and I think that's really where your mind needs to be on Chainlink. And that comes from this being a weekly 1 into a wave 2 to this low. I'm counting this as a W, X, Y, X, Z, right? So because of that, I put my extensions from low to high to low. That gives me a, let me go to my linear target so we don't get too crazy with Chainlink here. Yeah, let's go to linear. That's crazy. So on linear, that means we're looking for around minimum a $40 wave 3, which I think will get extended, because if we don't, you would overlap into the top of the secondary wave 1 later. So in time, you know, I think that Chainlink, this wave 3 of the blue count, will be somewhere about $65, and then its wave 5 could potentially come in somewhere around $80, if not try to push a little bit higher. But I do think Chainlink still has a really good run for it on the table, you know. From here on Chainlink alone, those wave 5 targets are still 230% away. So still a really good run, right? Yeah, so Marco, if you want to search by exchange, go over to your search listings. You can go to crypto, because if you're on all, right, you're not going to see it. So if you're on all, you won't see it. As soon as you click on crypto, you can go to sources, and now you can switch to would be, you know, Binance US or whatever that exchange type is. And then you can choose whether you want what type of contract and what type of exchange. So I hope that's helpful. Yeah, so everything for me is looking really good on Chainlink, Marco. I'm probably not the most popular person to ask about this one because I am so bullish. So I am looking for a reversal here. Off of this low, I count a pretty decent 5-wave motion. And I'm seeing this guy as the potential of something to the downside, or even that I'm wrong and this is here. Why I don't like that high is because it was made in a somewhat three-wave motion. But maybe we can biff it a little bit and say, you know, give it the credit. But for now, I'm just going to keep it here. And I don't think the low of the correction is in yet, but I do really like the divergences on the RSI here, even on the 4-hour. You can see that you're getting lower closures on the 4-hour, but higher closures on price action. So that's pretty good. Let me know if you have any questions over that, Marco. But Chainlink overall I'm bullish on. I think what we really want to start seeing here, my dude, is getting back above the 4-hour bull control zone. And that's the 50 RSI value and the 50 EMA on the 4-hour, right? On the daily, the bulls really want to see it not losing the daily bull control zone around 21 bucks. As long as Chainlink's staying above that, there's no real reason for people to be fretting here, you know? And we'll just have to wait and see how it goes from there. Again, I put my wave 2 here because I think this is still just a correction, just like we've seen in our earlier 1-2 stacking. All right, so that's Chainlink. Let's go look at WLFI. And if anyone else has any other charts, please do put them in. All right, and we're about at the top of our hour of our stream together, so we've been going for about an hour now. So let's look at possibly our last chart, and if nothing else comes in, then we will get off. METAFOX, gold endgame targets. What does that even mean? What the hell's the gold endgame? You'll have to explain that more, Nameless Monster. And METAFOX. Alright, I got that down. Explain to me what gold endgame targets are so I can understand what we're even doing. I'm not going to be able to give you any analysis on whatever the fuck this chart is. I would say it's likely to come up and take some liquidity out of this wick at some point. But something like this is, this would be really idiocy to get involved in. You can't do anything with this. Yeah, you can't do anything with this. Until this world liberty shit settles out, this is that Trump shit. Until this settles out, dude, I wouldn't touch it. You couldn't give me, you give me free money, I wouldn't put it in this shit. You know? Yeah, I wouldn't. There's not a fucking chance in hell. I would let it do its thing until you get a real reversal on WLFI. There's no reason whatsoever to be involved. All right, I already have METAFOX pulled up until I hear back from you, Nameless, on whatever the hell. Oh, max target for gold, man. You have me so confused. All right, let's go look at gold really quickly. We look at this in a couple streams lately. People have been pretty interested in it. I'm a gold buggy wuggy. I like it. We talked about this in the Discord community and how it was going to break out. We were plotting this as our initial 5-wave motion, and we got our swing fibs on, right? So in my opinion, what I'm looking for, sir, is minimum 3,500, and then another consolidation, and then 3,600. Now, when I zoom out, I got to tell you, my macro target is not until 3,900, right? So that is... I got to be honest with you. I personally have been riding gold for a little bit. So I'm going to start DCAing out, right? So this is where I got into gold. So I'm going to DCA out as we come up into this regardless, because I'm not trying to catch the top and I'm not trying to catch the bottom. But if I start to DCA out up into these next fibs we talk about, that's 109% gain on gold for me. 114% and overall 130. So I'm not going to nitpick that last 15%, right? I'm just going to get paid and get the fuck out. So what I'm looking for here on gold is this successive move up to 3,500, another consolidation. I'm looking to DCA out around 35 to 36, hold, and then DC out again around 3,900. By 3,900, I would like to be 75% out of my gold position. You can also see what here, guys? We have an ascending triangle, right, with a technical target. So if we measure from the bottom of an ascending triangle, just from these average of the lows to the average of the tops, this doesn't have to be perfect, you can see how this gives us another 10% technical target to the upside. So it takes us past our fibs and to our next macro target possibly, right? So let's see what happens. Let's stay tuned in. But I do think gold has got more moves to the upside, right? But I'm going to be looking at DCA. Silver. This one that we talked about, the breakout, I told you guys this was coming. Literally in the Discord and the live streams. I was so open and honest about silver. I was so open and honest about buying silver. I was buying up these dips, man. I truly don't think silver is going to be over for a little bit. I think this is just the start of the move, right? I do think in the end we're going to be looking for about a $47 silver as our next target. Yeah, and I'm going to do Fox right after this, G. If not, 58 bucks. And as dumb as it might make me sound, guys, I am possibly looking for, that larger reversal that takes silver to $58 to $64, And if we're lucky, we make a run for 73. But I do think in the cards for silver, in the end, will be a motion that looks something like this. I don't know exactly how it's going to be drawn, whether that first pivot is here and our next pivot is here. But I do think silver has a lot more on the table. So gold and silver looking good for me. All right, let's go look at Fox, my dude. All right, so Fox is in our target box, right or wrong? Right or wrong, Billy, this motherfucker's ready to ride. All right, so the other thing we have is hidden bull divergence. Lower lows on price action, or on RSI, excuse me, but not on price action, right? So this is good. This correction, I'm not going to try to fucking take a stab at, whether you paid me or not. But I think somehow, some way, whether this is 5 down or fucking somehow it turns into a WXYXZ or whatever the fuck it is, the invalidation is the lows of that structure, right? What's up, Chaza Parcel? Let me write it down. VELO. All right. Where are you guys all from, by the way? I always love having chats with everybody. It's kind of cool to know where you guys are from. Like, just the country. You don't have to tell me the fucking town or where you rent your movies or anything. But yeah, so anyways, this was our target box for Fox, right? So if this works out and invalidation holds at 1,000,000 zeros, 9147, then we're looking for the successive move towards the upside, right? And we're doing this on linear to keep it realistic. So, nice. Italy, bro. Which part? I went to Rome year before last, and I bet it was probably the most amazing place I've ever been, G. I absolutely love Rome. My wife and I are looking to come back. We potentially were looking to come stay for almost a month. So hopefully somewhere where you're at, dude, we can get a coffee together or some cacio e pepe or something good. All right, so if this was a possible 5-wave motion in A, in a pullback in B, in 3 waves, then you'd be looking for a successive 5-wave motion in C. Northern Italy, nice. Let me write that down. Turin. If you don't mind, I'm going to go look up a lot of YouTube on it. I like to travel via YouTube and nerd out, and then later like size up places and see where I really want to end up going. But Turin, I wrote that down, dude. Northern Italy, thank you. Yeah, I really want to go see more of Italy. I think it's so vast and it's all so different from region to region to region. And even the culture per region was so different. So come whenever you want to be amazing. You're my guest. I can show you the city. Dude, I would love that, man. I've got the biggest smile right now. I would love that. So if Fox moves up, that's the 1 through 1.382. that could potentially take this up to 0.001168 to 0.001579. Regardless of how you peel this potato, as long as invalidation holds from the target box, that is 470% to 660%. Now, for anybody who says that can't happen, it very well can, right? I made 1,400% on Pepe this year, so it can very well happen. All right, let me know if you have any questions over METAFOX. And just for little bragging rights, this is Pepe, right? This is where, in the Discord community, we bought Pepe. I'll show you. Way down here. Do you see all that bullshit back over there? That was our original buy-ins on Pepe. We rode those up 1,400%, or I did because I sold out early. I know some people in the community rode it much higher, but I only had rode this successive wave, what I thought was a wave 3 to the upside, and it ended up selling out too early. But from support to there, I sold out right here in this, what I thought was wave 3, but it ended up continuing on without me. So shit happens. Let's go look at VELO. I still have it in a correction, dude. I don't know if you're, let me make sure I say your name correctly. Shaza, I don't know if you are familiar with my Twitter, but I still have VELO in a correction on the macro here. And that comes from the potential. Let me go to a linear or logarithmic. I apologize. Dude, that was a beast trade, man. I made 1,400%. It paid for some really good things in my family's life last year. It was a life-changing thing for me. So thank you. It really was. It was such a life changer. But even if you only get one of those a season or one of those every 10 years, who cares? All right, so in VELO here, what we're looking at that makes us kind of, I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious that this might be an ending diagonal, is that everything within it moves in somewhat of a three-wave nature, right? So because of these all being three-wave natures and all kind of pinching in on itself with this contracting, leading thing, I'm going to go with it's a leading diagonal in a possible wave 1 or A. And we are looking for a deep retracement, which is most common after a diagonal, potentially even down to 786. But I am open to it holding higher based upon the 3 swing extensions we placed from the high of 5 to the low of an A to the high of the B after a 3-wave motion. Now looking for a strong secondary leg down. Nice, dude. I hope, dude, thank you for coming from Twitter and you taking your time to come all the way to fucking YouTube to see what I'm about. This is it, man. I do no bullshit TA. Just like you, I don't have a ton of time in my life. I have 5 kids, so I don't have a lot of time to waste. So I set alarms. I look for big opportunities like this. And until they get to my opportunity, I stay sitting on my hands, right? I'm not going to just DCA this like a fucking idiot down. It just doesn't work out for us, right? So minimum, I would be looking for 0.004566 to 0.002623, right? And if it plays out, my dude, the next legs of this are going to be fucking epic, right? So your first move up yields you a potential 3,700%. So your partner leg likely will give you something very similar. Now, because this was a leading diagonal, that means that your C wave will not be an ending diagonal. That means it'll be a valid 5-wave motion. So when you get down here, I would be looking for a really strong move up like that in 5 waves, right? Now, once we get support, once we get further down this roadmap, right? Let's say this makes some sort of 1, 2, 1, 2, and then you start giving 3, 4, 3, 4 vibes, and then a 5. Once we get down here, we'll talk more about it. But until then, Chaza, I would just be patient, let this dude ride out, see what's up. The reason why I'm not bullish, though, primarily comes from what you see there in that B wave, right? So everything about this screams corrective motion. It doesn't break 1 through 1.382, never gives displacement, and then gives overlap with the old highs, right? So it's not the best look. So, All right, what else do we have, guys? Any other questions over anything we have covered so far in this stream? Or do you have any questions over anything educational, over anything else in the charts before we log off? Do feel free to let me know and just speak out whenever you want. I'm fairly easygoing, and I'm willing to look at whatever you guys want while we're here. But once we log off, I've got to go back to the community. Yeah, I did Chainlink, Addy. That's going to be in the recording for you. It will be time-stamped as soon as I log off. All right, guys, I don't really see anything else coming in. So I appreciate you guys coming today. A lot of people came through. We had 60 people come through, dude. We got 16 likes. It was a hell of a live stream. As always, I appreciate you guys. There's a Discord link in my bio on YouTube and Twitter. Gives you a free week trial to the community. Come by and see what we're all about. If you think that the stuff you've seen in this live stream was good and you think it was alpha, it doesn't even touch the tip of what we do in the Discord. We also have indicators in there for you. We have a minimum of 3 live streams a week in there for you. We have a massive community full of educated people in the know, willing to help guide your charts and help you create the edge that you need to become a trader that you actually want to be. So thank you all for your time, and I'll see you guys out there. Bye, everybody.